Good morning to all participants. Good morning, Apau sir. Good morning, Mr. Dominic. Good morning, the organizers, Blue and Grey. Today we are going to have our next webinar on an interesting subject. First of all, welcome all of you for this interesting webinar. I would like to introduce a little bit, probably for the new participants, on what we are doing in NFE. We are NFE, National Federation of Engineers for Electrical Safety. Most of you know very well. We are registered as a society. It's a not-for-profit organization. It's driven by the members. Our motto is to create awareness on electrical safety and build a nation electrically safe. So our vision and mission are very well known to all our members, but still I would like to read it again. Our vision is to make every electrical installation free from accidents such as electrocution and fire due to short circuit, and increasing the reliability of electrical installation, thus contributing to the saving of life and property and supporting sustainable development. Our mission is to achieve the vision by personal certification, by product and certification of products and services through various forms, support the electrical industry to achieve our vision. We have, as I said, we are a membership-driven organization. You can find more information in our website. We have opportunities for joining. You have opportunities to join as individual member, corporate member, or MSME member. So I request all members to forward our website as well as these joining links to the interested your friends and colleagues, so that we can add a lot of members to. As all of you are aware, we have a lot of accidents in India due to electrocution and fire. Our awareness programs are creating a lot of interest in the market. Several corporates started following our programs, and they started implementing the safety regulations or safety measures which we are propagating in the market. So we have, in this year 2024, we started with several webinars. Rather than until last year, we were doing all free webinars, but now we have made it members only. In our free webinars, we were getting so much participation, probably 600, 700,000. These are figures which was easily achievable. But now we made all the programs either for members or paid program for non-members. It started in the last three, or we practiced it in the last three programs, starting with the earth electrodes. And we also conduct NEC seminar, one-day seminar in Nagpur on 13th of January. The upcoming programs are in Baroda, 9th February, Friday, one-day program. Then the second one is Chennai, 16th February, again Friday. The third program is on Goa, 23rd February, again Friday, and Mumbai on 1st March. Probably we may change it to one more week, maybe to 8th or 9th of March. So probably until March, we are planning 4 more programs, one-day programs. We request all members to join the programs and make it more effective. And you can also bring your colleagues and your friends. All the programs are free of cost. It is sponsored by BIS as well as International Copper Association, Polycab, sometimes Sonal or Fluke, meter companies, and several other companies. So we request all of you to participate in these programs. Today's program is on CEA regulations, role of distribution companies and stakeholders in minimizing fire and electrocution. So the webinar is to discuss and understand the framework set by the Central Electricity Authority. Their guidelines are not merely a compliance checklist, but are the cornerstone of sustainable and safe electrical distribution. This webinar goal is to emerge with actionable insights and strategies that can be implemented to drastically reduce the occurrence of fire accidents and electrocution. We have a stellar lineup of speakers and the moderator who will provide valuable perspectives in this topic. Let us commit this journey of continuous improvement and collaboration. Thank you for your presence and your dedication to the important cause. So here we have our renowned speaker, Apauser. He is the retired Chief Electrical Inspector of former Chief Electrical Inspector to Government of Tamil Nadu. Apauser is a certified energy auditor and a freelancer in advising electrical safety and earthing practices. His experience include electrical installation design practices of LV and MV installation. As per the CEA regulations, he conducted electrical safety audits, electrical accident and fire case analysis. He has made paper presentation for India in Japan under Indo-Japan Dialogue on Energy Conservation and has undergone training in Germany in the calibration of reference electrical energy standards. So I will be moderating today's program. I am Gopakumar. I am the president of NFE. So with this short introduction, I would like to invite Pauser for the presentation. Pauser, you can share your screen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Just I will share the screen.
You have to go to the first slide.
Yes.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Fine. Just a moment. Okay, is it visible? Am I audible, sir? Gopa, sir?
Yes, you are audible and the slides are also perfect. It's on full screen.
Fine, thank you, thank you. Good morning once again. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the NFE and Blue and Grey and all the participants who encouraged me in presenting this seminar, this webinar. This is the title may appear, it should be explained first. I would like to explain. It's a CEA Central Electricity Authority regulations which enforces, which prescribes implementation measures for enforcing electrical safety in our country, and in which I want to highlight the role of distribution company and stakeholders, because distribution company stakeholders coming to the subject of stakeholders means, see, these are people who are all involved in this subject, who are all responsible for implementing electrical safety in our country. Actually, stakeholder is a 17th century word when the subject of electricity and CO2 emission were not the issues during those times. So in this webinar, let us take it as the parties who are responsible for the objective of ensuring electrical safety. It involves the government, the implementers, and various other people. So in this presentation, I am just covering the relevant provisions applicable for the implementation of the regulations in our country. It has 50 slides, most of which are familiar to many of us. I am just arranging various provisions to show how the stakeholders are involved in achieving the objective of electrical safety. So I will be a little bit fast on reading some of the provisions and devote more time to the interpretation parts of those slides and the statutory especially the statutory and technical aspects. Okay, let me go ahead with the presentation now. So the contents will be focusing on responsibility of stakeholders, distribution substation especially, earthing and avoidance of hazards to consumers, and protection of personal and property of DISCOM and public. The technical part of this webinar, the specific portion relating to the commonly observed wrong practices alone will be focused on handling the time constraint. So the reference may be many, but the important gist of those standards have been taken into account. The central state authority measures relating to the safety and electric supply regulation 2023 and the technical standards as well as IEC 61936 part 1 and EN 50522 IEEE 80 and our national standards IS 732, IS 3043, 10028, 1646 as well as 60095. So these standards, certain portion alone will be dealt with.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. People are asking you to speak a little more louder.
Okay. So am I? How you feel now? May I raise the voice? Is it okay?
You are audible, sir. You are audible. Probably the participant have to increase the volume.
Okay. Because I want to know the common, because if I am so inaudible, then it will not be good. So I can't also go very high in the high pitch mode. So let me restrict to this level. Is it okay now, Mr. Lakshmi? Is it okay now for you? And go past
Yes,
Yes,
very
sir.
much.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Very much.
Thank you. Okay, coming to the stakeholders, who are all the stakeholders? First of all, the government and the regulators, because I want to explain this slide, how it is related in a holistic view to achieve the safety. First, the government is the first stakeholder to ensure safety, and it involves regulators. Regulators have, in turn, electrical inspectors and competent electrical safety engineers, which is a new concept which we'll explain. And suppliers, apart from regulators, there are suppliers, that is distribution companies who supply power to the owners. The owners, in turn, employ electrical safety officers as well as the supervisors. He utilizes electrical contractors. He will be reporting to him to test the installation, to install the things. So the contractors will also submit a report to the supplier for availing supply. The owners will also be approaching the supplier to get the supply and to do some periodical test and comply with the supplier's regulations. Then finally, the owner will have to report to the electrical inspectors depending upon the voltage classification with regard to the compliance of regulation 32, 34, 38, and 45. I'll explain later. So they will have to report to the CESEs also, and the suppliers will also have to report to the electrical inspectors in turns. But why these two things are in red mark? Because I will explain in the coming slides why these two slides are red mark. Because it indicates that there is some link missing, some implementation measures. Ultimately, most of the electrocution fire happens in our country due to these missing links that you will learn in the subsequent slides. So first of all, we should know that every citizen is enshrined under Article 21 of the Constitution of India to right to live. That is the right to live, this article. This is in turn strengthened by the state policy. So electricity is the concurrent subject technically, but when it comes to the safety aspect, state has the powers to enforce things. It's a state subject. Safety is the state subject. That's why the Act provides independent powers for the states also. So under the Ministry of Law and Justice, the government of India have issued Electricity Act 2003 on 24th June 2003, which specifies which stipulates a conducive environment for private party participation in the electricity sector as well as safety measures. So we were all aware that as per our National Crime Records Bureau report, the accident deaths are ever increasing. It is in the order of around 13 to 14,000 per annum, and short circuit also happen. So most of the short circuits reasons are attributed to the electrical causes, though they may attribute short circuit, but it really happens due to various other causes. They are generalizing on short circuit, but we are having much contribution for the cause of electrical fire in our country. Almost 50 to 60% of the fires are due to electrical flaws. So in the recent judgment issued by the Honorable Supreme Court, it has insisted that electricity being a hazardous activity, a strict liability is casted upon the providers. That is, whoever is involved in the subject of providing electricity, everyone is responsible. In a typical case which involved electrocution due to conductor snapping, the apex court have ordered the compensation to be paid, and it fixed the accountability on the distribution company. They have disposed the case even without issuing notice to the respondent. So this is the standing view of the Honorable highest level court in our country. That means strict liability is unlike we can't shirk our responsibility that it happened due to negligence or due to something else, unless it is intentionally committed by the victim. So all the remaining type of accidents can be attributed to the cause of wrong practices or wrong methodology or violation from the standards. So what's the penal provision? The penalty provisions are given in the Electricity Act 2003. It's a very stringent provision. Say whoever, it means whoever, whether it's a owner or a contractor, whoever who commits or who contravenes any of the provisions of the Act or rule, they shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 months. So cognizance of offense are also given. But what we generally thinking is the owners alone are responsible. It's not like that. Owners, of course, are also responsible. But when we go to the section 149, since the roles and responsibilities stipulated in the law is not properly understood, the stakeholders wrongly feel that the owners alone are accountable. No doubt, owners are assigned certain accountabilities. It doesn't mean that the advisors and the executors can escape from the violations. That's why the Act brings in the specific section 149, regarding offense by the company. According to section 149, I will show that slide. Yeah. So this is as per section 149, offense by the companies. When an offense under this Act has been committed, every person who at the time of offense was committed was in charge, he will be punishable. But there is a proviso clause, nothing contained in the subsection shall render any such person liable to any punishment if he proves that the offense was committed without his knowledge, or that he had exercised all due diligence to prevent the commission of such offense. So what does it mean? Actually, the owners, they want to have a peaceful living. Of course, there could be some sort of cost-cutting measures, but that's why they are employing consultants, architects, contractors, and there is a provision for the implementers also to go and inspect, to test the installation by the contractor. So these are the process involved in the regulations. Apart from that, if there is anything happening with the connivance of the owner, then only he will be responsible. So if we shoulder the entire responsibility on the owner, then everybody will be escaping from the teeth of law. That's the intention of this law, Section 149. And based on the Electricity Act 2003, the creation of Central Electricity Authority has come into existence as per Section 70. So it has been created. So as per Section 73, it has to specify the measures required for construction, operation, and maintenance of electrical plants and electric lines, as well as this enforcement. Another Section 53, here the authority may, in consultation with the state government. So I already stated that state government is the entity to provide safety to its general public. So in the federal government setup, state government is a state subject. So central authority, the authority means CEA, they have to consult with the state government to provide while providing the regulations, because their role is protecting the public from dangers arising from generation, transmission, distribution, trading, or use of electricity supply to the installation or maintenance. So everything comes into this CEA regulation. So accordingly, CEA has notified the first regulation in 2010. It repealed the erstwhile electricity rules 1956. It was very long ago it was introduced. It was continuing after several amendments because of the Electricity Act 2003 and 2010 have superseded it. However, the periodical, it's the important part that you have to know. The periodical inspection for LT installations were preserved either by the supplier or by the electric distributor under Regulation 30. This is to ensure fundamental right of the citizen. Every installation should be inspected by the authority, by the enforcers. That's the intent. Because of the strength of electrical inspectorial organization in our country is very weak, very meager. They have entrusted the crores and crores of consumers purview under the supplier. This is the intent. This was existing since 1956 itself. Then, during the subsequent amended regulation which was notified on 8 June 2023, it vested the periodical inspection, including the supplier installation and voltage classification, etc., to the competent electrical safety engineers. This is an important part. This I will explain in the subsequent slides. So this is one more thing. As per Regulation 14, this is a generic thing, but it covers all the aspects. Supply, the design, installation, verification, everything shall be followed as per National Electrical Code and National Building Code and the relevant standards. So it mandates the codes and standards by the words shall be followed. Previously it was maybe, now it is shall be. So it permits the adoption of other standards as well. For example, if there are no provision to deal with the specific aspect under Indian standard, you can refer the IEC, International Electrotechnical Commission, and as well as if you can't find anything, you can adopt IEEE also and European norms of EN, European nations standards. So it is in the sequence. The first priority should be for Indian standards. In sequence, it should appear. This is the intent of the definition provided in the regulation. So after a complete installation, you have to go for verification and testing as per class of NEC 2023. It involves a certain 10 type of verification measures. Also, some routine tests are prescribed under table 9, 10 on class 1426 of part 1, section 22 of NEC 2023. So these are the provisions that has to be observed, overall provision. The intricate parts are not going to. So after providing these things, the powers, the regulators have to inspect. How? For which they have fixed some notified voltage. As per regulation 32, the state government will declare the notified voltage. It varies. Actually, in our countries, it varies. 11 kV in certain state. It is 33 kV in certain state. But up to which the electrical inspector or the competent electrical safety engineer's role are defined by this notified voltage. That means the electrical installation below or equal to the notified voltage, the self-certification comes into effect. So the owners can self-certify their installation by utilizing the competent electrical safety engineers. So the periodicity, whatever may be, the periodicity of electrical inspection by electrical inspector or self-certification by the supplier, owner, consumer. So self-certification applies to supplier, owner, or consumer. Who has to certify it? Is the chartered electrical safety engineer. So whoever may be, every installation has to be either inspected by the electrical inspector or competent electrical safety engineer, and the periodicity shall not exceed 5 years. This is a base that every citizen is given the opportunity of right to ensure electrical safety in his installation through these measures. So after which the initial supply, they have to go for another inspection for if there are any additionalities or expansions in the premises. This is governed under Regulation 45. So the role of chartered electrical safety engineer, his role is to assist the owner. So the government shall authorize CESs from amongst the person having qualification and experience as per guidelines to assist the owner, who are the owner, supplier, or consumer. So it is clear that CESs have to assist the owner, supplier, or consumer to provide these enforcement. So he is on par with electrical inspectors, provided he can go for inspection below the notified voltage. That has been clearly given. But the important point is Regulation 32 as well as 45. It was entrusted to supply previously till the Regulation 2010. It was existing. But CESE role is a new one. It has come into existence since 2015 itself. Now we are in 2023, but as per regulation, state government has to notify the list of CESs in our country. It is happening. So you can see, I will magnify this. For example, I have already stated that the electrical installation shall be inspected either by the electrical inspector or the supplier under the previous regulations, which is existing still now. You can see that supplier is entrusted. Here, this is a notification, a sample notification issued by the Tamil Nadu government in 2002. I will come to the point whether 2002 it is still valid now or not. That will be dealt with now. Now, as per this notification, the supplier has to inspect. The periodicity is once in 3 years or once in 5 years. Where medium voltage and low voltage. Medium voltage in our country during the electricity rules were up to 650 volt only. We treated high voltage, extra high voltage at 11 kV and above, unlike the international standards voltage classification. Anyhow, we have to analyze whether this notification, this should be available from other states also. There could be some entity, whether the inspection or enforcement is going on or not. There should be some entity who can enter and inspect the consumer premises as per the rights vested with the citizen. So, is it valid now? The thing is, who is implementing safety regulation for LT installations now? And inspection by supplier, which was prevailing till the first regulation, which repealed the electricity rules 1956. In 2010, I think it is September 2010, it was notified first regulation. Then CEA rule was prescribed in 13th of April 2015. Again, recent regulation in 2023 on June have empowered CAC to inspect suppliers installation also. So the implementation of this provision is still elusive. Whether CACs are inspecting or supplier is inspecting, this is a mute question. But is there any implementation? We have to analyze. If so, what's a remedy for the implementation of safety in our country? Can we treat this as a transition period? Because during the promulgation of Act and regulations, there will be a transition period. Government will have to take some time to notify the new authorities for inspection and everything. But the transition, still sustain the transition is coming into picture, and whether the new entities like CSEs are vested with the full powers to inspect, it has to be implemented. There is no gap in implementation. So the erstwhile supplier has a responsibility to inspect till such time the CSEs are notified. Because that's why I'm saying these rules, this notification, though it was issued in 2002, is found to be valid with a view. Because the intent of the Act is not to shirk away from the responsibility of ensuring safety to the general public. So till such time, some provision is made, the previous practice has to be followed. That is the provision given in any act. In the repeal section, for example, in the Electricity Act 2003, there is a repeal section. Under section 185, there is a repeal provision. See, what is a repeal provision? The repeal provision is, notwithstanding such repeal, anything done, any action taken shall be considered insofar as it is not inconsistent with the provision of the Act. So we have issued notification, supplier has to make, and CAC's role has not come into effect. So the adoption of the notification empowering supplier till such time as a transitional provision is not inconsistent with the provision of that. So it is valid. That's why the General Clauses Act 1897 is coming into picture. Unless a different intention appears. That means if the Act specifically says, no, safety is not given to the public, then it will not, the repeal will not. That means the repeal should have a saving clause. That means the particular section is taken away. It can't be taken. It's because it deals with the safety. So if there, it may be applying to the other aspects like what do you call commercial aspects that may involve so many commercial transactions, etc. That can be taken away by the law, but not this. Anyhow, there is no specific provision. There is no saving clause to avoid safety to the public. So unless a different intention appears, this is a beautiful act. This is the Act, Section 6 of General Clauses Act in 1897. During the British regime itself, we are having this. Still, any repeal provisions in any act promulgated in our country that will include the specific clause. This is save as otherwise provided without prejudice or affect the general clause of Section 6 of General Clauses Act 1897. This is a mandatory arrangement because the fundamental right or any privilege should not be taken away by the authority who is promulgating a new law. Why I am saying these are, we engineers should be aware of the basic provisions of laws and regulations before to know that how much we are accountable. how much are we responsible? Then only we will be in a, we will come to a clarity that we have to be answerable during any electrocution or any tragedy that happens. So now comes the responsibility of the owners. So why I am saying these responsibilities? Because owner has the total control over his installation. So if anything blatantly or in connivance with the owner takes place, he should be responsible. So there are 3 regulations, 32.8, 38.3.1 and 48.7, because 38.3.1 is regarding multi-story building where major number of fires do occur in our country. So in all these 3 areas, this is for the high voltage installation exceeding 650 volts. This is the normal, any type of manufacturing activity. So this is the thing, how the owners are responsible and they have to maintain and operate the installation in a condition free from danger. So this is the reason why owners are employing people like consultants. So whether it's a consultant, contractor, architect, they are indirectly made accountable by the law. You can't escape from the teeth of law, because whenever a small incident happens, that will be forgotten. If a major thing, there are 2 type of flaws that can occur. Some small things. We are having 15,000 accidents throughout the country annually as per NCRB records. But it is not sticking to our mind. But if there is a major accident involving hundreds of people occurring in the same on a particular day, it shakes the whole of the country. For example, I can cite the Upar theatre accident in New Delhi, where 53 persons succumbed to death due to asphyxiation, not due to the fire. It was initially a fire, and subsequently stampede and asphyxiation in theatre complex. That in that case, the judgment was awarded as if the killings were willful killings. The compensation and the punishments were so severe, and unfortunately, most of the implementers, enforcers, and the owners are no more now because of continuous process for the past 2 decades since 2003. So it shook that entire country, but which has risen to promulgate a overnight ordinance where the dry type transformers alone should be provided in commercial and residential buildings. So it was observed on that next day itself. If there is no dry type transformer, then you will not be given any supply. It will be a crime. So we unfortunately we have to wait for a major tragedy to happen to enforce these laws because of the what you call the poor awareness among us people. So to pay over for the owner's responsibility, owners have to employ not only the owners, supplier, even the supplier. They have to employ a designated person. Previously, we call it generally as electrical supervisor. He has to carry out the work on electrical lines and apparatus. Apart from designated person, there is a contractor. The role of contractor is very important. So far, the owners are fully depending upon the electrical supervisors as well as the contractors for their day-to-day operations and the installations. So during the installing process, the regulation have clearly stipulated that no electrical installation work shall be carried out except by the licensed electrical contractor, which shall be listed, which shall be empowered by the state government, listed by the state government. And then testing. So testing of installation should be done by the licensed contractor, duly signed. He shall sign the installation for its fitness. That has to be submitted. We call it as a completion report. That has to be submitted to the supplier as well as the electrical inspector and the chartered electrical safety engineer. So again, as per regulation 45(5), see what is this for the new installation. Every new installation, he has to test every circuit in addition thereto, whether it can be overhead line, it should be tested and satisfied. So it should be free of danger. Then only the regulation will permit you to effect supply. Then what is the role of supplier? The supplier's role is abundant in the regulation, because if as a result of inspection supply is satisfied, that the installation is likely to cause danger. That is as per regulation 33(5), supplier can even refuse to connect or reconnect the supply. For example, if there is no residual current device in the premises which can afford protection to its occupier against electrical shock, he can straight away reject the supply in spite of certificate issued by the electrical inspectors or the competent electrical safety engineers. Then precautions against the leakage before connection has also to be ensured by the supplier. So we can refer this class of IS 732 for maximum protective conductor current is provided in this 732. Previously it was not there. From 2019 onwards, there is a clear class which says what should be the protective conductor current. So supplier are supposed to go through these classes to ensure that the installation is not giving much of leakage that can harm the occupier. So what are the other responsibilities? So it comes under the previous heading of against failure of supply and notice. In this, our purpose, I have taken only this sub-regulation. The supplier take all reasonable precautions to avoid accident disruption. This is the main part, for which to avoid danger to the public or any employee, its own employee also, or designated person, when engaged in any operation during and in connection with the installation. So this is the thing. Supplier should take all precautions, for which he has to go through the schedule 3 of CEA regulation, and he has to observe all these three things. Inspector approval, whether the inspector approval is there or CEC approval is there, or whether owner self-certification, that is the self-certification by CEC, or general observation and views apart from these specifications, these observance, he has to observe the general condition of the installation, if there are any deviations from the requirement from the regulation. So for which he has to go through schedule 2 of the, undertake the schedule 2 of the inspection report. So the supplier should also ensure the standard clearances, because I will magnify this. This is a vertical clearance and horizontal clearance for the overhead line, which should not affect the building. The horizontal clearance based on the deflection, vertical clearance as well as the maximum deflection from the building structures. So supplier has to lay the line according to these clearances. The standard clearances are also stipulated in the regulations. So the regulation 62 and 63, vertical clearance is provided, and horizontal clearance as per regulation 62. So these are the provisions that should be observed by the supplier. For example, up to 11 kV, this is the clearance across the street. This should be the clearance, but clearance above the ground. So along the street, this is the clearance. Elsewhere, suppose if it's a place where people occupancy are not there, there is no street, no cross or along, then this clearance is sufficient. So if it is for navigational river and non-navigational, so everything is clearly given in the regulation. The supplier has to provide during the construction itself. So apart from that, street boxes, because during the rainy season and other timing, there are a lot of places where people can become the victim. So the thing insists the pillar boxes should be provided above the level of ground level and clearance from the building. So these are the provisions that I have given earlier. And earthing is an important thing. The stay wire should be earthed and the guarding arrangement should be provided along the street and it should be earthed. Then the supplier, there is one more regulation which specifies under technical standards for construction of electrical plants and lines under regulation 22 that provides a clear provision of protection system of transformers. That is a distribution substations. So as per regulation 79 of this provision, there should be some circuit breaker or high rupture capacity carriage pieces. And for the 11/433 volt distribution substations also, there should be some provisions. We should see whether these are complied or not by during the concession time itself by the supplier. Another thing, there are also instances where the builders or the occupiers or the building owners violate the supplier's existing lines. They should be observed, for which the clearance from the buildings are already given. And people, while transporting or doing some other activities, they should not interfere with the supplier's lines. So that means the tree clearances, they should cooperate with the supplier doing the periodical maintenance. So these are the things where the supplier and the occupier or the consumer conflict can come into existence. They have individually, they have to observe these regulations. Then I am coming to the another point, that is IEEE 80. So most of the damage to the consumer installations do occur, and the what do you call the substation? The HV substations plays a vital role in containing the over voltages getting transmitted to the subsequent substations. That's why they have to provide standard measures to contain the earth fault current or to minimize the voltage rise, that is the touch voltage. So we are simultaneously observing IEEE 80 and EC 619361, which is correct, I will deal. So as per IEEE 80, this is the body current. I think this particular expression gives the first step in arriving at the touch potential. It is based on the body weight and a constant depending upon the fault clearance time. So this body current is defined somewhere in 1946 by one stalwart Dalzier in US. Unfortunately, it propagates 1,000, a constant 1,000. Unlike the body resistance itself is getting varied due to the application of different voltages. That is not taken into account. And modern concepts have evolved according to these concepts. For example, if you see that body currents, how it varies. At 200 volt, it exhibits 4,000 ohms, and at 1,000 volt, it exhibits less than 1 kilo ohm. So we have to take into account of these factors. That is why the regulation, that is not the regulation, it's the standards EC 69361 under figure 12, which is nothing but the figure 28 of IS 732. It provides a curve. This is the important thing. For example, if the fault clearing time is 200 milliseconds, the voltage, the touch voltage should be restricted to say 550 volt. So this, for example, depending upon the fault clearing time, we have to design the installation. So it may be required to go for more stringent earth resistance values as the fault level of the DISCOM increases. Such a low value of earth resistance can be achieved by adopting a global earthing system only, which is not possible in domestic premises. That's why the European, during this IEC notes, country notes, it is clear that a specific country, some countries, they adopt the IEC 61936. This is IEEE curve. This is the curve IEEE, which previous to the earlier curve, I have told that at 200 milliohms, see the value varies. If you see the previous curve, the value varies. So this is somewhat more stringent than this IEEE curve. That's why the countries are adopting either they are at freedom to adopt either IEEE 80 curve or IEC 61936 curve figure 12. But for example, you can see that one particular country, you can see from that IEC curve figure in figure 12, which gives permissive touch voltage shall be used. That is sufficient. But what they have said, the IEEE 80 curve shown in answer sheet shall not be used as an alternative. So, alternative to figure 12. So that means this shall not be used by that country and this shall be used by this country. So these are the things that we have to take into note, how the developed world is attempting towards the reduction of stubborn test potential to minimize the shock hazard to the suppliers' personnel as well as the consumers' personnel. So here, I would like to emphasize only one point. See, this is the touch potential. The person standing here in the substation, he is touching the part. How it can be reduced is by providing some earth electrodes, which can, this is known as a potential grading. Because of the provision of earth electrode here, yes, they have provided one earth electrode here. So next earth electrode here. So thereby this touch voltage is getting graded. This is potential grading. So in the substation, earth electrode can play a vital part. So how the transfer potential is getting into the other areas is another subject. So why I am saying that because people are in as per IS 3043, we can see that there are different type of configurations for providing earth electrodes. For example, a pipe electrode, it all depends upon the soil resistivity. A pipe electrode at a soil resistivity of 100 ohm meter, this is, for example, 3 meter long, can give you a 25 ohms. But you can achieve a flat strip electrode for the same 100 ohm soil resistivity, but the length should be double that. Okay, so the same effect can be achieved and you can achieve the potential grading to minimize the touch potential. This is simplified in the IEC 60364. You not go into the rigorous calculation with allowable error. Of course, this gives you a factor of safety, even a stringent measure to calculate. You simply calculate resistance of an electrode will be twice the soil resistivity divided by the length of the conductor in case of strip electrode, and in case of rod electrode is simply rho by L. You don't go in for the logarithmic and results-oriented calculations. This is sufficient. Finally, at the end of the day, we are going to validate the results by testing only. During testing, there is no much difference between the adoption of this formula and the simpler formula. And that's why the chart also specify what's the difference between the IEEE and IEC. So I do not, because IEEE has paved way for the creation of so many concepts by the IEC itself. There's no doubt in it. But it can be used for the initial design, for transparency and the stringent as well as the confident measures, you can go for the IECC one. See what is the thing available. See, you can see the flow chart between these two things. There are so many loop, so many feedback system. Here, you have to go for grid resistance. Then, if it is not sufficient, you have to again attend to the mesh. So here it is very simple. You determine if it is less than the touch potential as per the curve already told, then go for this. Is a fine. Your design is complete. This will come when you weld at the result or if there is a global earthing system. If it is less than 4 also, then you take just this measure. That is a recognized specified measure M. You achieve the result. If it is more than only, then you go for these things, these specific things. So it is, unless you find a simple solution, why do you bother about all the mitigations? You initiate initial design. No doubt you have to initiate an initial design. What we should do? What are the grid current? What is the grid resistance? What is the initial design? That you can do. No problem. But don't burden heavy without considering the additional measures, because there are already measures available naturally. Thanks to the underground mass of pipelines, of utility, railways, everything, there is always a parallel path. Not all the ground current are passing through our substation. Most of which are diverted through the overhead conductors crane, as well as the earthing conductors, as well as the invisible earthing conductors of utilities. So this is provided. For example, there are measures. It's a typical measure I am having here. It is very simple. If you have a outer earth of building, you can provide just a horizontal earth strip around the building. This is sufficient. This will help you to minimize the potential grading. It's a potential rise, that potential rise during lightning activity also. So you just to go through these measures. So the sample only I'm giving 2 measures alone. So, Gopal sir, how much time I can take? Can I take another 5 to 10 minutes?
Of course, yes. Yes,
Oh,
we
fine.
have time.
Oh, fine. Because it's already 12. Okay. So now I am coming to the subject of slightly touching, not to the subject, slightly touching. What's the? I am just giving the missing part that we usually not taking into account during our execution, design, as well as verification. So this is a typical TT-TNS system. We call that we are having a TT system. The difference is there is a link between the protective equipment conductor, because it is the source, the overcurrent protective device, the conductor, and the equipment. If there is a fault, that will flow through the protective earthing conductor and through this link. So 99.9%, this will be in the order of milliohm. Where earth electrode will be in the order of ohms. Finally, it has to travel. Instead of 10 ohms, with a very good value of 10 ohm, your milliohm will take 99.9%. That's why the earth slope impedance concept with TNS earthing system is insisted in insulation. But what we people are doing is TT earthing system. So I don't discourage you go for TT, IT, or TNS. These are just having a reference. Earth electrode only acts as a reference. If we make it to act as the earth fault current also, then the problem comes into picture. If the link is removed, then it becomes a TT system. Here you have to make the fault current to suffer from this resistance as well as this resistance. Though you have provided very low value of protective earthing conductor, it has to suffer 10 ohm here, another 10 ohm here. Totally your fault protective device will not sense, will not act for the earth fault. Because of which we have to provide some other measures like core balance CT and earth fault relay everything. So the thing is, we have to ensure the correct earthing system according to the type of instance. If it is a explosive, highly explosive areas, then you devise IT system, TT system. There is no strict hard and fast rule. But most of the 99% of the accidents do occur, and they can be contained by TNS system only. So another part is, we are providing TT system. We think that it is a TT system, but in actual reality, in field reality, we are having the armor is connected to the equipment frame. That is the source, transformer or generator. The frame is connected either through the bus duct or through the armor. Then the neutral earth electrode is connected to the body earth electrode of the transformer or the generator. Here you are having unintentional connections. What does it mean? Your TT system is becoming a weak. Here it is a weak earth fault return current. It's neither a TNS system nor a TT system. It becomes a weak TNS system. You have to insulate. Is it happening? So these are the things that we have to take care while providing, while declaring whether we are having a TT system or TNS system. So coming to the suppliers part again, we are having regulations since 1956. Now I am coming to the regulation 18, 2023. It insists suppliers shall provide and maintain consumer premises and earthed terminal in an accessible position. Why? For the use of consumers. So this is nothing but a TNS. It is from the year 1956 onwards. But unfortunately, most of the domestic premises and the LT premises are not abiding by this because of the flaws that will be explained in the subsequent slides. As per regulation, as per standards, suppliers are empowered to have a TNC, that is neutral as well as the protective earthing conductor are combined in a single function, that is TNC, because they can't provide all the way sturdy earthing conductor to the consumer premises. So there are no consumers in the land. So as far as the suppliers are concerned, or distribution companies are concerned, they can provide a combined system up to the consumer premises. It is for the consumer's responsibility to connect his installation. So by means of these parallel electrodes, supplier gets the least resistance value. So, for example, if the supplier is interconnecting this body as well as the neutral electrode, then that is a neutral of LT system and frame of his transformer. If there is a fault in the ST system or in the upstream of ST line, then it will be getting transferred to the LT installations also. How? So for various configurations of the LT system, for LT earthing system, if you have a TNS system, you will get shock, but our equipment will be protected when the supplier is interconnected. These are interconnected. Suppose if it is separated, that is the type of earthing connection. If it is separated, then you will be safe. But can we separate? Because again, separation will cause damage to the supplier equipment and damage to the supplier personnel also. So they will connect it. Unfortunately, we have a system where this is not being observed. For example, this is one distribution transformer where you can see the neutral is connected to the structure. By the same distribution company, the neutral is well protected. Here it is a TNC system. Here it is a TNS system. Sorry, here it is isolated. There is no earth connection. But naturally, the space constraints are affecting it dictates the supplier supplier is not in a position to segregate his earth electrode to provide insulation. So we can assume that the frame as well as the neutral are connected whether directly or inefficiently through the close positioning of earth electrodes. So these are the things that supplier has to take into account. In all the cases, whether it is a distribution transformer or substation of the DISCOM or the consumer SU insulation, there is an unavoidable proximity of body and neutral earth electrodes. Due to this, the influence of earth electrodes will also be there. So it is not practical to separate them. Also, any separation in such cases will be almost an inefficiently connected one. So here it becomes necessary to connect the system. So what the standards prescribes is, see, this is the system. Another thing, how the protection, sorry. Okay, I will go to the next slide because the time is, yes. So this is the table which prescribes the complete protection because supplies any temporary overvoltage. The temporary overvoltage is a major concern. Unlike transient due to surges or lightning, there are provisions to contain these transients by use of lightning protection system or lightning arresters or surge protectors that can operate in microseconds. But our temporary overvoltage, it is just like mimicking the supply frequency voltage. It is undamped. Temporary overvoltage is not yet fully defined. It is undamped supply frequency which occurs during load rejection or any fault. So this undamped is nothing but similar to the supply frequency voltage, undamped, and the voltage will be higher. So it is essential unless we provide an equipotential bonding, equipotentiality and proper interconnection of earth electrodes, it is not possible to contain because a very stringent norm prescribed, but we have a long way to achieve this. If it is more than 5 seconds, because unlike transient voltages occur in microseconds or milliseconds, these temporary overvoltage can occur in seconds and even more than 5 seconds. So in the worst case scenario, you have to contain the voltage, touch voltage up to 250 volts only, which is possible by interconnections and TNS earthing system consumer premises as well as the equipotential bonding. So this is the concept, just one slide. This is the concept that we usually, we regularly adopt. We provide the lighting at the top of. So as a result, this equipment, transformer is here, somewhere here. This is at the top. The distance in the loop formed by the down conductor and the equipment to be protected is very high. As a result, during the discharge of lightning, your lightning arrestor becomes the victim. It doesn't protect. Instead of protecting the transformers from BIL, basic insulation level, your lightning arrestor is becoming a victim. So it is due to the wrong practice. How to do? It's also a provision in the IEC. There are, for example, if it is provided away, then it is a poor system. It is not interconnected. It is interconnected. It's a good system. This is very good because it is the loop. So ultimately, the loop is, as the loop becomes closer and closer, it is interconnected. But unfortunately, we are not observing. We are universally following, not universally, we are mostly following this type of configurations, which should be rectified. So coming to the fire safety measures, yes, 1646, beautiful, yes, it is reaffirmed 2015, reaffirmed in 2020, which provides very good measures for protection of a building premises, the supplier. So these are the provisions that has to be observed by the occupier. And the transformers also have to be erected depending upon the oil content. There should be a separation distance between the transformers and the building to avoid propagation of fire to the building or to minimize the damage during the fire. This is the standard available in IS 10,028, how the soak pit has to be constructed, how the fire barrier wall has to be constructed for the outdoor installation as well as for the indoor installation. These should be observed because most of the things are not observed in either the consumer installation or the supplier installation. If the distance is so high, you need not provide. If it is low, then it is necessary. That is the fire barrier wall. I mean the fire barrier wall only. Not for the oil soak pit, you have to provide, it is mandatory. So coming to a conclusion, I can say that electrical accidents do not happen due to negligence. It happens due to to an already shown hazard. We have already shown a hazard. It is already existing. But electricity strictly obeys the rules. We only harm and divert its force towards us to become the victims. So make the prevailing Supreme Court ruling of strict liability as an ordinance for inclusion in the regulations, similar to the ordinance like dry type transformer after water. Provide standard earthing practices at the HV substation, distribution substation, LT installations as well to avoid hazards transferred to the LT installation, whether it can be a consumer's equipments which is getting damaged during every load shedding or some other factors where the temporary over voltage is being transferred to the consumer installation. And empower DISCOM officials at the distribution level to adopt standard practices as per regulation. Because we are going, on one side, we are going to a high-tech level, whether HVDC and supercritical thermal power plants, but the condition, the facilities afforded to the DISCOM officials is very meager. They are not giving standard PP also in some cases. So consumers should also avoid interference with the DISCOM network and observe the standard design practice during initial, periodical, and fire safety measures. So finally implement CEA role and enforcement measures mandated by the regulation. With this, I would like to thank for your patient hearing of all the participants. Thank you all. Thank you, sir. Gopa, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a wonderful presentation. You have covered a lot of points from the CEA regulation. Sir, probably you can unshare.
Yes, I will unshare.
You have unshared. Yeah, thank you. Now it's unshared. So it was a wonderful presentation, sir. We have few questions. Can we go through the questions first?
Yes,
then there are some comments also made. Okay, Mr. Dr. Vaibhav Jain, he is our CWC member in Delhi. How to become CESC? Mr. Vaibhav Jain. How to become CESC? Who take examination, and each state government has its own rule on CESC.
Actually, as I have explained in this PowerPoint slides, CESC is an important role. The state government, again, I say that state government through the inspectorate have to prescribe, have to furnish the list of CESCs for adoption by the supplier as well as the owners. So they have to conduct exam based on the qualification criteria prescribed by the regulations. Criteria of qualification is prescribed in the regulation. State government through the inspectorate has to do it. It is not happening, unfortunately, in our country. Only Maharashtra and Orissa have shown some interest, and some Gujarat and other states are also coming. It is yet to happen, frankly speaking.
Yes, there is a question from Mr. Narendra. Having responsibility, what might be the punishment under what section? Mr. Narendra, the question is not clear. If we can maybe come back to you and you can talk after completing this question answer. So Mr. Ravi is asking a question: can NFE or any other individual file a PIL case against DISCOM for not complying CEA safety regulations? Sir, interesting question. Can any of you or any other
Only
individuals
what
like
I
that
can say
weigh in
is
against?
we can't put the blame on DISCOM alone. There are already stakeholders are many. Is PAL, as you said, we have to sensitize. Through these measures, we are sensitizing the government as well. Government has to take care of its citizen. They have to do it. We will send NFE will send. First of all, we can't go straight away to the court. We have to exercise all the low-level work. We have to. We have just started. We have sent letters to the inspectorate and see if they are also cooperating and implementing. But we have to inform the government also that we will do. NFE will do. We will appraise the government also on this role. We'll send a letter separately for this. Is it so, Gopa? Instead of going PL directly.
We will take up step by step. We cannot. At the moment, we are concentrating more on our scheme of certifying people. We are facing a lot of challenges with respect to our scheme because finding out trainers is a challenge, or trainers who knows about IS 732 is a challenge. Finding examiners is a challenge. Only few of the members had signed agreements with PRCB for examiner. Anyway, we will come back to it. We have a question from Mr. Mahendra Chilguri. He want to know how many electricity boards are following CEA rules on installing transformer at residential community. Also, the one more continuing question: how many state electricity boards are verifying the residential building on safety regulations? There was a fire incident in a residential community at Supply Mines, and after the incident, panels moved to the entrance, which was more dangerous. How much EB is responsible for this?
Yes. So this is the thing. Accidents do occur in the areas which is neglected by the enforcers. Because it was previously supplier, they have to inspect. Now it is CACs. It's a transitional period. Now it is neither the CSC nor the supplier. I can say that it is a important thing that we have to address. As you said, that state electricity boards, I have just in my presentation, I have indicated in Tamil Nadu, we are adopting 2002 standards to notification because it is still valid in the absence of CESs and transition. So other state we have to explore whether it is available in other states. It could be available because previously it was based on IR 1956 and 2010. But frankly speaking, the inspections of LT installation, as you said, is not happening in this country. So that's why we have to empower. We have to go a long way to provide CSEs and to provide all the sorts of people to be competent through examination, something to get qualified by the state government through CAG.
Thank you, sir. Actually, I have a different view on this particular case.
Yeah.
Instead of making a post-mortem and find out what is going on, all of us should put our effort to change the system. Then only improvement will happen. If we keep on discussing what is happening and what has happened in last years, things will not change. I would request that Mr. Mahendra Chilguri, as the as an eminent teacher from a very well-reputed organization, university in Tamil Nadu, he should actually take up, since the problems are known, the institute can take up seminars and start educating the electricity board. Most often, what I found is the electricity board engineers are also not aware of several of the safety measures because they also didn't get proper trainings. Probably if such institutes or people like Mr. Mahendra can come forward and organize programs and training for electricity board, I have a feeling that the electricity boards will improve slowly. So rather than discussing this point, we should take some steps to educate them. Then slowly our system will improve. Instead, if we keep on criticizing, no one will gain any result. This is my personal opinion. Anyway, not important at the moment.
Sir,
Let me go to the
I would like to supplement your point. I am straight away asking Mahendra Chilukuri to take the responsibility as a NFE member. Please take a responsibility through the institutions. You can become a person to institutionalize this certification program. We will send you a letter separately also.
Yes. Thank you, sir. There is a question. Please elaborate DTC earthing guidelines.
DTC?
Mr. From distribution companies earthing guidelines.
Yes, this is simple. Technical standards 2022, CEA Regulation Technical Standards, and CEA MSCES Safety Standards 2023, and IEC 61936, EN 50522. The specific measures I have mentioned, M measures, and the standard earthing practices to avoid potential temporary overvoltage being transferred to the consumer premise. So these are the standards available. If they go through these three standards, it's more than sufficient for the supplier.
Yeah. So, sir, there is another question from anonymous attendee. Could you please throw some light on requirement of transformer oil sock pit for indoor and outdoor installation?
Yes, see, due to time constraint, I went fast on those two slides. We refer IS 10,028. It is specifically provided for the indoor as well as outdoor installations. If the distance is more than 8 meters, fire oil content up to 5,000 liter, then it means a barrier wall, fire barrier wall is not necessary. But oil soak pit purpose is to evacuate the oil into a pit to minimize the fire propagation. We are minimize the fuel, heat, and air. Out of these three possibilities, we can readily discharge the fuel. That means the transformer oil has to be discharged to the nearest soak pit. The slope has to be given. Everything is given with this sketch in IS 10,028. You can adapt.
Thank you, sir. Now, Mr. Muralidhara, who is responsible for solar installation? Is DISCOM or electrical inspectorate?
Yes. We can't say that is solar installation as a whole. As per Regulation 34, the CEA MSCS Regulation 2023, under Regulation 34, requires inspection and issue of permission by the electrical inspectors or CESEs. That means up to what voltage and what capacity. So that the state government have to notify. This is the thing where there are several notifications required to be issued by the state government. One with regard to inspection under Regulation 30, under Regulation 43, under Regulation 34 for the generating plant. Generating plant means it can be a diesel generator or a solar panel. Depending upon the size, it has to be inspected. Now, as of now, with the available thing, it is inspected by the electrical inspectors. And a certificate is issued based on which DISCOM gives interconnections.
Yes, sir. The next question from Mr. Gopal Singh Yadav. What is the wire or cable size for 220 kV discharge rod?
It's a typical question. See, first of all, when we go for discharge, we have to ensure there is no voltage. If there is a voltage, if you provide any size of cable, you can't provide a 240 square SLP cable from the line conductor to the earth. The size of discharge, the size of cable is depending upon the availability of supply. For 220, I don't think a 220 volt kV supply will be discharged through the earth lab. Nothing happened. Something like LT insulation and ST insulation. In 230 volt, you have to ensure. There are devices which can sense the availability of high voltage while you bring your earth rod nearest to the live conductor. If it is live, then you will not discharge. You have to discharge the accumulated static and induced charges alone, not the live charges, live discharging. That's the intent. The size is not important here.
Right, sir. We have the next question from Mr. Smritiranjan Pradhan. In urban area where there is a lack of space, what will be the number of earthing in a distribution substation?
Yes, this is a practical difficulty where the distribution companies are facing. People in multi-story building premises, there is provision, regulatory commission insists certain area to be allocated for its equipment. But for the public distribution roads and streets for small houses, there are no spaces. It is occupied. So what we can do is, here the fault level is very low, unlike the other locations. So it is sufficient if you provide the earthing system and line earthing, pole earthing for every length. So it prescribes, regulation prescribes the pole earthing at frequent intervals, for example, 3 per kilometer. And another thing, there are earth electrodes to be insisted as per regulation. It should be provided for every consumer. So all the pole earthing and earth electrodes and your distribution transformer earthing will constitute a overall effective earthing system with the TNC connection. So it is sufficient if you provide practically a grid in the small locations also, it is possible. The integrity of connection should be maintained.
So, sir, again, another question from Mr. Smritiranjan. Can we connect lightning arrestor to neutral earthing of distribution transformer?
So I have given as per IEC C099 part 5, and I have given one slide, bad, good, and very good. You adopt that very good system. You have to interconnect.
Yes. Okay, right, sir. Now we have few people raised the hand. Let me allow them to talk. Mr. Davis,
Hello.
you can speak now. Also, Mr. Ullas.
Hello.
Mr. Davis? Yes, we can hear you.
We hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you very much, Apu sir, for your excellent presentation. Very highly technical. Covered lot of topics. And particularly, I have one question from the earthing part of it, which is you have been referring as a global earthing, and whereas in India we have IS 3043. Now, with respect to this, my questions are interconnection of earth LV and HV, because avoiding the temporary over voltage, and potential grading in switchyard. If you can throw some light, I know the questions are very difficult and not able to answer in a short time. However, yes, I would like to have some perspective from you, sir.
Yes, for your question, it involves the complete design aspect of the high voltage substations. So in generally, the global earthing system, the concept, we have to see the concept, proximity, interconnection, equipotentiality.
Okay.
This is the definition available for global earthing system. We already have a dual standard, IS/IEC 61936 Part 1 to deal with this. And a derivative of this standard, IEC standard, is EN 50522. So as per regulation 14 and its definition, you can very well adopt these two measures. So once you do the interconnections, it can't be generalized. You can adopt the M measures, which specifies where interconnection and in certain locations where insulation is required. So we can't generalize within the question answer session. It requires a lot of thing to be dealt with, whether your communication cable is involved, whether your pipeline is involved from substation to the remote location, and whether your fencing is accessible from a passerby, and whether your building is closely located to a substation. So a lot of things, you just go through the 50522, you can have a fair idea. And then we can have a separate session for EHV, I think design.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Gopa sir also.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. We have Mr. Ulas. Ulasji,
Yeah, good
you are also
afternoon,
raising
everyone.
your hand.
First of all, hello.
Yeah, yes,
Am I
yes.
audible?
Yeah, audible, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Apo sir, for your wonderful presentation. On CEA regulations, I have one simple question about this notification or notified voltage. I don't think it plays any important role because when they conduct CSE exam, they ask questions up to 1200 kV. That means we have been tested up to 1200 kV. And then why there is a limitation on prescribed inspection only up to 11 kV? That is my question. Is it not an injustice to CSEs?
It is only I can say, in other words, in implementation and enforcement comes into picture, we have crores of people. For example, in Tamil Nadu, we have crores of service connections. Can we entrust these crores of service connections to be handled by just 50 to 100 electrical inspectors? In other words, can we have a police for each citizen? So there should be some rationale behind the implementers and the common citizen. There should be a mode of implementation practically feasible. So it doesn't mean that the CSCs have already been vested with the powers of assisting supplier as well. So why do you bother about the HV and the extra high voltage installation where the accidents do not happen? It's very less, just less than 1%. Why, as a common man, we should not bother about those installations. It's already going on with a skilled and trained personnel and instructed personnel are there. Let us not interfere with this system. The challenging is in the LT and small installation like that, where we have to address the issue. But in other words, analogically, what I can say, in road transport, also issuing licenses to the drivers as well as the vehicle insurance, everything. Can we insist that the road transport officer has to go and inspect every vehicle? So these are all the ways how best we can optimally utilize the enforcers. The final thing is the enforcement and the outcome should be smooth and feasible and practical. Thank you.
Okay.
Also, sir, Mr. Amrit has made a comment. The soak pit is not allowed as per Pollution Control Board. We can provide collection pit for the transformer oil. Anyway, that's a good presentation as well as good interactive session. We have a good number of participants as well, even though we made it only members only as well as paid program. Because of these paid programs, we are getting more members in our group now. But adding members is not the only aim for these webinars. It's the webinars are to provide more and more information to the participants. I hope there is no other question because nobody has raised the hand. If anybody has question, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we will end up the program for today. Today evening, we have afternoon 3 o'clock. There is one more webinar. Actually, it's organized by our Spark and Silicon Institute of Technology, Bhubaneswar. I am the speaker, and we are going to discuss about prosumer electrical installation challenges. I will send the link. If you are interested, you can join. So, sir, Mr. Jitendra Kumar Rathore is asking some questions. Mr. Rathore, you are
Yes, sir.
welcome.
Yes, sir. Can I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, first of all, very nice presentation. But one question that is in mind is that as per National Crime Record Bureau, accidents are in increasing trend. And as a part of means there is a lacuna on the part of the utility, or you can say to supplier or to consumer or manufacturer, what may be. All these three parts, stakeholders are responsible for that. The accident which are happening in consumer premises or due to the infrastructure of utility. So my question is whether there is a legal provisions or whether there are the legal actions that might have been taken for violation of such CA regulation, either by utility or by consumer or by the contractor, in order to reduce or in order to control the such kind of accident. What are the legal provisions that are available for a common man or for a utility also to take action against such kind of violations? Sir, please.
Yes. The Act Section 146 and 149 clearly provides. So the regulation, if there is a violation of regulation, action can be taken. But practically, the enforcers can't take action for each. If you seek the violation, then almost 100 people, including us, have to be prosecuted. So there is nothing. Really a major thing. The stick and roll is the generic thing. We have to choose a major thing. It's unfortunate. Then only the enforcement will happen. But as you said, the Act provides a clear provision and regulation provides a clear provision. Apart from that, codes and standards are there. It all depends upon the hazard, upon the violation. If there is a major violation, you will not be given supply. That itself is a first punishment. If there is a violation during maintenance, the owners will be booked depending upon the violation. If it is a small violation, and the supervisor can be booked. So depending upon the violation, it happens. If it's a tragedy, then the country will jump into picture or Cooper theater. So it all depends upon. We can't expect booking of cases for each and every instance, because it is happening by the cultured and learned people. Normal laymen do not do electrification, consultancy, architectural work, and erection work verification. So we are all accountable. We have to exercise our responsibilities. Once the responsibilities are exercised, then there will not be a question of enforcement also. It is the development across the several countries. In Japan, you don't require enforcement. In India, you require enforcement for each and every aspect. So it is a practical and feasible way. Of course, as you said, some stringent enforcement is required at times. It's a good thing. It's a good question. It requires only the electrical inspectors and the law and order inspectors can do it as per law. They are empowered.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sir, there is an interesting comment or question. what are the provisions in the act to make the state government act on regulation? Because most often the problem is the state governments are not taking any actions against the violators. What are the provisions on the Electricity Act to ensure that the state governments are enforcing regulation?
First of all, it's not the act, it is a constitution. As per directive principles, Article 42 and 43 are the directive principles, which told us, which empowers, which allocates the safety of general public to the state government. So based on which state government have to provide the regulations, rules or notifications. One of such notification, immediate notification should be like that, in my opinion. That is, there is no CESs, no inspection for LT installations throughout this country. So the loophole is there are no supplier, no CESs available, no present regulation. So this large gap is persisting now, for which we have to sensitize. We have to write letters to the state government. This is the thing, how this should be addressed. Then we have to make the state government through the CEA also. Actually, CEA, Central Authority, is notifying a lot of things. It's good. They have notified measures for lines, EV chargers, everything. But what is the status? So status, whether the implementation status, how many accidents happened, what's the review, what's the, where the state government have issued notification, has the state government have issued, furnished the list of CESs, and whether they have at least notified who is the inspector for LT installation. So these are the whole thing missing in our country. It should be done. It should be done. We can't do it as a single handedly. It should be a massive thing that should happen in our country to minimize any more altercations in our country. To avoid any more altercations in our country.
Okay. So I think we have completed all the questions and all the comments.
Yes.
So it's time to close the participating in this webinar.
I think yes, Baveja just raised on question in chat box I'm seeing. Baveja sir, I will soak it or provided at a certain safe distance. It is there in the IS 10,000. Just observe Indian standards IS 10,028. If the place happens to be in close proximity with any inflammable area, then you have to avoid according to the inflammable area specifications. So no specification can insist to violate another specification. So you see an overall observance between the various standards. That's my reply for your query.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So finally, thanks for all the participants for joining us for this interesting webinar. Also, thanks to Apav sir for making a very interesting webinar or presentation. And he has covered almost all the subjects, several subjects from the regulation. We will put the video in our YouTube probably tomorrow. You can also go through the video, and if you have any questions further, you can also post your questions under the video in YouTube, so that it is easy for us to look into the video and we can answer. So thanks all for the interesting session. Let us close the session.